successor to their MIUI operating system running on top of Android. While the look isn't drastically different from MIUI, it's a big refresh for Xiaomi as HyperOS is looking to be the center of Xiaomi's IoT ecosystem to better connect all their devices together. HyperOS 1.0 became official with the launch of the Xiaomi 14 series in China, but I was able to get one in Hong Kong just over a month ago. I have a lot of thoughts on HyperOS, but there are 3 things I love and 3 things I hate about it. That I think about HyperOS is definitely the lock screen customization options. There are so many default ones to choose from, and they're all really unique. For most of them, you can change up your clock and font styles, edit text, and move things around. Like iOS, it's really good at recognizing objects in the foreground, and the background text effect looks great. Each lock screen setup gets saved and you can easily switch between them whenever you want to change things up. The always-on display also changes to whatever you have set up as your lock screen. And the transition from the AOD to the lock screen is super seamless. There's even more wallpapers and themes you can buy or download from the theme store, but I'm already pretty happy with just these default ones for now. I think these are very stylish and hope they add more to the mix with future updates. Another thing I love is the sidebar. It's similar to One UI's Edge panels and it's not new at all to MIUI users, but it's still one of my favorite features for multitasking. You can instantly open a pop-up view of an app by tapping on it, and you can pop up to 2 apps at the same time. So with another app on full screen, you can have up to 3 apps open at the same time, or if you have split view on with 2 apps running, you can pop up 2 other apps to have 4 apps on at the same time. Now this is definitely overkill, but yeah, I use this all the time to reply to messages while watching YouTube videos, or if I'm signing into websites or apps and I need to open my FA app to build music. It's super convenient and makes it really easy to multitask even with just one-hand usage. The last major thing I love about HyperOS is the general UX design and animations. The icons can still use a bit of work, but the transitions and animations between UI elements are really pleasing to look at. Even just pulling down the notification shade or the control center looks really nice. Again, that transition from the AOD to lock screen is also really smooth. There's definitely a lot of design elements that are borrowed from iOS, but the settings are really easy to navigate around while offering a lot of customization options. App opening and closing animations and navigating around the recent app screen looks better than what I've seen from One UI. And a lot of the stock Xiaomi apps are really nice to look at, especially the weather app and its dynamic animations. But while I think the overall UI is very nice to look at, the thing I don't like about it is the inconsistency in general performance. Now Xiaomi says HyperOS is all about being a lightweight OS with more intelligent background processing for smoother performance. But even if there might be an improvement from the UI, there are still random jitters or slowdowns in the screen refresh rate when doing very regular things. This includes something as simple as changing the screen brightness, scrolling through YouTube where the display is suddenly 60 Hz even when there aren't any videos playing, and some lock screen setups causing major delays with unlocking the phone. Now these issues don't happen all the time, and I'm sure these types of software issues will get patched with future updates, but it seems like HyperOS still has a lot of work to do. On top of that, another con with HyperOS is how it handles notifications and background apps. MIUI was notorious for aggressively closing background apps, so users were either having their apps closed too soon or they didn't get any notifications from their main apps. Unfortunately, this is still a trend with HyperOS, and what's really annoying is that almost every new app that you install comes with notifications disabled. Now this kind of makes sense since you don't want to be bombarded with notifications from apps that you didn't even open yet, but for some apps, even when you open it and enable notifications, it only allows one type of notification, and almost all other types of notifications have to be individually enabled in the settings. Then to receive these notifications, a lot of apps are simply getting killed in the background. So for essential communication apps like messaging and social apps, you need to make sure they're unrestricted, and some need to be auto-started as well. So for an app like TikTok, which I don't want it to auto-start, but I do have it as unrestricted, I don't get my notifications until I open the app. But once you do get these things all set up after installing all your primary and secondary apps, you don't really have to deal with these issues anymore. But it is a major pain to deal with for at least the first week of using this phone. The last thing I don't like about HyperOS is all the minor features that are missing all over the place. Extra dim is a really convenient feature to lower the brightness of your phone even more to look at it during the night, but it's not available on HyperOS right now. Some advanced battery stats like screen on time and background usage time aren't here either. The default call and notification ringtones sound like they're from 10 years ago. There are really not enough modern choices to choose from. And even though HyperOS 1.0 is based on Android 14, you don't get to customize your lock screen shortcuts at the bottom here. And finally, I wish there were additional multitasking options like a quick gesture to open up split screen view or something like that. We're limited to just a sidebar here, which I do like, but it also doesn't allow me to pin a lot of my essential apps like Gmail or YouTube Studio. So putting everything together, HyperOS has good things going for it, and I think it's overall a good first start transitioning from the UI. As you can tell from my complaints about it, there's still a lot of things that need to be improved, but with more software promises and commitments from Xiaomi, I think there's good potential for these issues to be resolved with future updates. Let me know in the comments your thoughts on HyperOS, if you agree or disagree with my thoughts here.